There are about 600 muscles in the human body. This video shows you which ones we need to be aware of for Health Science 1, the muscles that we need to be able to label. So first we're going to start off in the head-neck region. We'll go through the list of muscles that we need to be able to label. The first is the Frontalis muscle. It sits over top of that frontal bone. The next is the masseter muscle. There are two, one on either side. Oop, of the face. Next is the Temporalis muscle. Sits over top of the temporal bone. So you can see why it's important to know where the bones are. The Orbicularis Oculi muscles surround the eye on either side. The Orbicularis oris muscle surrounds the mouth. The Zygomaticus major muscle right here. Again, there are two, one on either side. Attaches to the zygomatic bone. In the sternocleidomastoid or sternocleidomastoid, however you want to pronounce it, is here. It attaches up in the head at the mastoid process and comes down and attaches to the sternum and the clavicle. Those are the muscles of the head and neck that we need to know. We're going to zoom out and look at some of the muscles of the trunk. Right here in the front are the rectus abdominis muscles. These muscles that are on an angle or at an oblique angle are our external oblique muscles. Give me a moment. Our internal oblique muscles sit deep or below our external oblique muscles, and here is where those are located. Some more deep muscles that we need to be aware of are our external intercostals, and those muscles are the ones that are more superficial but lie between each rib. Those are our external intercostals. You would not really be able to label this on a normal skeleton unless it's, or on a normal model unless it's dissected, because they are deeper than other muscles. And same with the diaphragm. Oops, sorry. Bear with me. So the diaphragm muscle, we've already learned about it. It forms the barrier between the thoracic and abdominal cavities. You can see it's a dome-shaped muscle, and again, it is deep as well. It's within the body. Moving on to the back. Oops. This very large fan-shaped muscle on either side is your Latissimus dorsi muscle. We're going to stay on the back side of the body here. This very large triangular shaped muscle here, and then on the opposite side, those are your trapezius muscles. Over here on the lateral part of the body, kind of cupping over the shoulder joint, are our deltoid muscles. And again, you have one on either side. One's over here. Looking at the front of the body, this large muscle here is our pectoralis major muscle. We have one on either side. In the front of the arm, we have our biceps muscles. Bi meaning two, so there are actually two parts to this muscle. We don't need to know the specific parts for this class, but that's just to show you why it's called the biceps muscle. So together, those two parts of the muscle have the same tendon unit, so they're collectively known as the biceps. Turning the body around to check out our triceps muscles. So biceps meant it had two heads. Triceps means it has three heads. So again, we don't need to know the individual names of the heads of these muscles, but just be aware that there are three. So there were two that we could see there, and I believe, there we go, that's the other part. And they collectively, those three form the triceps on the back of both arms. Turning the body around. The only muscle that we need to be aware of in the forearm for this class is the Brachioradialis muscle. And it sits over top of where the radius bone is. So if you remember where the radius bone is, you can figure out which side of the forearm the Brachioradialis muscle is on. Moving down to the legs, let me zoom out a little bit. If you are looking at the posterior side of the body, kind of the posterior lateral side, up here, this muscle that's up near the crest of the iliac bone, that is your Gluteus Medius. You have one on either side. This large muscle here that we think of when we think of our bottoms, that's the Gluteus Maximus. That is actually the largest and strongest muscle within our body. Again, you have one on either side. Turning the body around to the front. Next muscle grouping that we need to know are our quadricep muscles. Quad meaning four, so it's actually four different muscles that come together and share the same tendinous unit. Our quad tendon or our patellar tendon. You can see 1, 2, 3 of the muscles from the front of the body. The fourth muscle lies deeper, so it's hard to see in this view. But collectively, those are known as the quadricep muscles. There is a muscle that attaches up here at the iliac crest and comes down. And you can see that it comes all the way down and attaches here. That is the longest muscle in the body. That muscle is the sartorius muscle, longest muscle of the body. You can pick it out when you're labeling because it does kind of crisscross from lateral to medial. We're going to do the last muscle on the front before we shift to the back again. This muscle in here, so your shin bone, it's just to the lateral of that tibia, that shin bone, and that is your tibialis anterior. So if you can remember where the tibia bone is, you'll be able to remember where the tibialis anterior is on either side. Turning the body around, up in the thigh, we have 3 muscles that make up our hamstring muscle unit. Again, we just need to know collectively as a whole where the hamstrings are. They are on the posterior aspect of the thigh, and again, there are 3 of them. The reason they all have the same connection point up at the ischial tuberosity, so I know that they go their separate ways down here, but they all connect up at the ischial tuberosity together. Those are our hamstring muscles. Moving on down to the back of the lower leg, these muscles here are known as the Gastrocnemius muscles. They come down, both of these muscle bellies come down and they connect to a tendinous unit which attaches down at the calcaneus. You might have heard of your Achilles tendon before. That is part of your gastroc muscle unit. And then deeper to our gastrocnemius, it's kind of hard to see. Maybe I'll be able to. Yeah. So this is our soleus muscle. You can actually label it better from the front because it's kind of like on our medial lower leg. But it sits deeper to, you can see it from that view, it sits below, deeper to the gastrocnemius muscle, and that's the soleus muscle. Its tendon unit attaches in through that Achilles tendon. So the gastroc-soleus complex share the same tendon. And those are the muscles that we need to be aware of for this class and to be able to label them. I hope it was helpful.